Hello and welcome back. In this episode, we have something new for our developers, for administrators, and for people that need insights into their data. So let's get right into it. We are starting things off inside of SAS Information Catalog, where the way that data is communicated back to us when we're looking at table has been greatly enhanced. I'm going to click on this adult table here, which has already been analyzed for me, and you can see the whole structure of it shifted, though all the same information is still available, of course. We can now see here on the right hand side quickly getting an overview of the information privacy and also get a nice look at sensitive, private and candidate columns right in here. Same with the areas that I cover, top languages and time periods. It's much more readily available for us, plus the analysis summary. Then on the right hand side, we can find the additional properties. Of course, you can still assign contacts, add tags, remove tags, as you have the rights, of course, to it. You can see up top here, the status is approved now with a nice looking check mark symbol. And then we can go look at the table where we can see instead of semantic type, it's now called classification. And in accordance with that, it's no longer called remediation, but now reclassify if you want to override what has been assigned here automatically. And then you can, of course, also add to columns that don't have anything yet. And on the right hand side, you can add business terms nicely from within this UI. Going into the actual column analysis, this has all stayed more or less the same here. So really this main page gives you a much denser look at your information about your table and gets you quicker up and running which dataset is relevant to you. Now, let us switch gear and go to an application which I don't think I have ever opened up before in the show. And that is the SAS Environment Manager. Why am I going here? Well, because it now also has a Copilot available. Of course, we can open it in the top right-hand corner to get the familiar Copilot interface. And now we can ask it questions that help us to find the right page within Environment Manager or help us understand certain configurations or settings or options that we see within this application. So it's built on top of the SAS documentation to get us quicker to where we need to be as administrators. It's really helpful as an in-app consultant that helps us guide along the way. Now, for the R developers, we have something really cool new in SAS Studio. In the previous edition, we talked about proc R becoming available, where we still had to write it within SAS programs. Now, with this release, we can also open up our files directly in SAS Studio and edit them in here. It's not a full-blown R development environment, but it gives you basic editing and highlighting, which is great to make these last-minute adjustments once you have developed your script, for example, in RStudio or VS Code, and now want to make it part of a production setting. So, of course, in here I can do things like print. Let me submit that. And then if you are looking at the code in here, we can see that it wraps our call in the proc R submit and submit block so that behind the scenes, it's of course running that same proc. It's just a more convenient way for an R developer. In the same way that we can write R in here or edit write in R in here, we can now also open up flows and either drag and drop a pre-existing R files into our flow, or through the add can also go in here and just add R programs right into our flow, and thus we can do fun things like adding a SAS program and also adding a Python program and combining them with other steps as well. Combining them into these visual flows that can easily be understood what's going on and be deployed into production. With that, we'll also take a look at another cool feature that has been added for SAS developers, And that is when we go to the SAS steps. Let's say we want to take a look at the binning step. We can right-click it to open it. This will open up the step in the standalone mode. And then in here, we can select our data source. So let's just select my HMEQ table in here. We will fill in our interval variable. And then instead of running this, we can click this icon up top here to preview the code. So this will only give me that specific core code that will be run behind the scenes that I can now take with me or edit and open up directly as a SAS file for me, which is super handy if you're building out complex workflows, but then you hit that point where you might want to make things even more flexible by putting it into macro loops or combining it with other languages in one single diagram. So here you now have the full flexibility on just taking the code out of the SAS provided steps. Just make sure this option is disabled as long as you don't have all the required arguments filled in. So as you can see right now, it's grayed out, similar to the run button, because it does require all these arguments. With that, let's switch gear and take a look at some of the cool new articles that have been published on the SAS community. First up, putting the SAS MCP server to work in GitHub Copilot. This is an amazing blog post introducing not only the SAS Viya MCP server that is available through the SAS software GitHub, but it also talks about what you can do with it and how to integrate it with GitHub Copilot. Of course, if you're using another tool than GitHub Copilot, the same process still applies, so you just have to adjust it to your tool. Next up, supercharging SAS Model Manager with SAS Gateway. We have talked about Gateway in a way previous episode of this show, and it's an amazing utility to parallelize Python and R code in the SAS computing engine. And this blog post series, because there's 3 parts to this, walks you through how SAS Model Manager is leveraging it and how you can unlock maximum performance thanks to that. And finally, talking about models and deploying them, there is also a great new blog post about the SAS container runtime, sometimes referred to as Soccer, and how you can improve its observability. So you can dig in, monitor the log, capture them, and then derive metrics off of that, as this tool allows you to deploy away from SAS Viya. So an amazing blog post to check out if you're looking to deploying your models or decisions in standalone containers. As always, I hope you enjoyed this episode and see you next time. Bye bye.